Have you ever seen a hashtag just leap off the screen and cause total real-world chaos? Well, that's exactly what went down with hashtag medieval mayhem. And today, we're going to dissect how it all went so spectacularly wrong.
It's a truly wild story, so we're going to trace the whole 2-week timeline of hashtag medieval mayhem, from what started as quirky historical fun to a genuine public hazard that just completely swamped city services.
You know, it all kicked off innocently enough. I mean, if you can call a globally synchronized event named the Great Gutter Gallop innocent. Yeah, you heard that right.
And from there, things escalated. Fast. We're talking DIY siege engines being built in suburban backyards, and the results were, well, exactly as chaotic as you'd imagine. And yes, it even led to an incredibly unfortunate, heavily armored, and very, very public digestive disaster right in the middle of Las Vegas. We'll get to that.
Just look at this number. The speed of this thing was just staggering. It pulled in over 1.2 billion views in only 2 weeks. This wasn't some niche hobby, you guys. This was a global tidal wave, and it was powered by an algorithm that absolutely rewards the outrageous.
So, Phase 1. It all started with let's call it a messy tribute to the 14th century. People saw it as harmless fun, reenacting that old tradition of yelling Gardy Lou before, well, you can probably guess what came next.
Okay, so this whole thing started with just one post from a 22-year-old creator named Lady Larkspur. But then it got gamified with a Lord of the Likes leaderboard, which basically meant everyone had to one-up each other. In just 4 days, it went from silly e-scooter joust to the Great Gloop Drop in Chicago, and it all climaxed with the Night of 1,000 Night Soils, a huge event that just crushed public services.
And these ridiculous trends? They had immediate real-world impacts. The whole Gardy Lou thing caused a 300% jump in sanitation calls in New York. Meanwhile, scooter jousting led to at least 17 documented chivalric collisions just in LA alone.
And, of course, experts like Dr. Alara Thorne from NYU were waving red flags right away. She pointed out that what looked like a bunch of fun and games online was turning into a legal and physical nightmare on the ground.
But get this, after a massive, synchronized Gardy Lou event literally crashed TikTok servers, the trend had its first big reality check. This led to something called the Pardoners Pivot, where everyone shifted to much safer virtual stunts.
But the chaos didn't stop. Oh no, it just morphed into something darker and, honestly, a lot more paranoid. So the focus went from hygiene to heresy. Which week kicked off with these AR filters that could supposedly detect demons, and that really quickly escalated to influencers hosting these fake virtual trials. This whole phase ended in that disastrous Joust Jamboree in Vegas, followed by the Grand Grievance Gathering, which was basically just a huge online complaint session that showed the trend was starting to burn out.
I mean, you can see the mutation of the trend right here. What started as fun dress-up stuff turned into reenacting some of history's absolute worst moments. Fun scooter jousts became these accusatory AR witch hunts, and wearing plague masks for a laugh turned into these full-on beak bash raves.
And the peak of all this absurdity, it has to be this moment in Las Vegas. An influencer, Baron Buffoonery, decided to eat an incredibly spicy meal before putting on a full suit of plate armor. His video, which got 204 million views, shows what happened next. Him, trapped inside, desperately yelling for someone to bring a file to cut him out.
This night's nightmare wasn't just a funny video, though. It had very real consequences. During that Joust Jamboree weekend, urgent care visits in Vegas for digestive problems, which people started calling chivalric colic, shot up by a whopping 340%.
And if you thought that was the peak, well, the trend's final phase took things from personal chaos and historical paranoia to, and I'm not kidding, literal suburban warfare.
So for the grand finale, the trend basically armed its followers. It started with viral blueprints for DIY ballistas and the beginning of No Bath November. This was all fueled by some seriously potent homemade mead, which led to a projectile being launched over a mile in Denver. And it all ended with the Great Gout Gathering, the painful, physical price everyone paid for this lifestyle.
I mean, this phase was just a perfect storm. You had dangerous blueprints being sold online, these bizarre rain cleanse rituals instead of showers, and it was all lubricated by Thunder Mead, a 35% ABV homebrew. What could possibly go wrong?
This really shows you how far things had devolved.
Experts like Dr. Thorne, who had been following it from the very beginning, could only stand by and watch in disbelief as people just willingly ditched modern sanitation.
And the impact was, again, immediate and pretty shocking. In Denver, which was ground zero for the siege season, emergency calls spiked by 420%. The injuries were from building and firing these things, they called them torsion twists, and from drinking way too much of that high-proof mead. But, like any raging viral fire, the sheer intensity of #medieval mayhem meant it just couldn't sustain itself. It eventually burned out, and that led to a final reckoning.
You can actually see the life cycle of the madness pretty clearly right here. Every chaotic phase, from the Gardyloo stuff to the backyard ballistas, it all ended in a massive burnout. And each reckoning, whether it was mass online complaining or widespread gout, forced the creators to pivot to safer, cleaner, and let's be honest, much more boring versions of the trend.
As Professor Harlan Quill from USC put it, the trend basically just exhausted its own capacity for creating chaos. It got too dangerous, too messy, and way too risky from a legal standpoint to keep going, which forced it to finally, mercifully mellow out.
In the end, the short, wild, and utterly bizarre story of #medieval mayhem leaves us with a really important question. As our digital lives and our real lives blend more and more, where exactly do we draw the line between a bit of harmless online fun and a genuine threat to public safety?